Simon and Garfunkel's 1968 album, Bookends. I bought this album in a 3 for £10 deal at Wickham Arts Centre vinyl sale. Bookends is now one of the few albums I have on cassette, CD and vinyl. The stall from which I bought it was run by the Vinyl Hunters, who have a popular YouTube channel. Bookends is probably my favourite Simon & Garfunkel LP, though it is almost like a compilation album. It seems to be a disparate collection of songs, over-the-top sound effects and odd production choices, some of which were cobbled together from old singles and unused material from The Graduate. It certainly lacks the uniformity of sound and purpose of their following album, Bridge Over Troubled Water. If Bridge Over Troubled Water was their big final statement like Abbey Road, then Bookends is their White Album. It has moments of genius, but in places it is a bit scrappy and experimental, and it has skippable moments. Bridge Over Troubled Water was one of the first LPs I bought with pocket money, or it might have been a Christmas or birthday present. I wanted it because I had heard Cecilia and Keeping the Customers Satisfied on the radio. I liked the rhythm and sauciness of Cecilia, and I liked the rocking nature, powerful horns and sceptical lyrics of Keeping the Customers Satisfied. I was not particularly interested in the title track or the boxer, which I've always thought was a bit overrated. I played Bridge Over Troubled Water to death, and then I bought Sounds of Silence, because I liked the title track and Homeward Bound. I still think Sounds of Silence is one of the best songs ever written. I may have been put off Bookends because it so proudly boasted the inclusion of Mrs. Robinson. I don't think it would have been possible to have listened to 1960s radio, even in the background, and not have had your fill of Mrs. Robinson, no matter how brilliant it is. It was a big hit and the soundtrack to the film The Graduate. Simon and Garfunkel split after Bridge Over Troubled Water, and I lost interest in their back catalogue till I heard Yes's version of America. I think America might even beat Sounds of Silence in its greatness. It hooks you with a brilliant tune and evocative lyrics, and you are kept interested with the arrangement. It has a guitar going through a Leslie cabinet, which was one of the sounds of the times. It has a chirpy organ and what might be Strawberry Fields type mellotron, or might be real flutes. It throws you with the line about the moon sung where Looking for America should be, and it is so poetic that none of the lyrics rhyme. They don't need to. It frustrates you with big tom breaks that suggest they are leading into a big beat, but it never comes. Sometime after that I heard the song Faking It, an ode to imposter syndrome, and who could not relate to that? I love everything about Faking It. It is an uncomfortable mess of a song that frustrates your urge to sing along. I love the dynamics. It goes from simple and sweet to epic with big drums, a big chorus. It has a touch of rubato and it has strings and horns. It is like a not quite matching compendium of ideas, like a Beatles songs with bits from John and bits from Paul. It starts with a slightly dissonant and disarming instrumental section that could have been the end of one of the Beatles' 1967 tracks. It's all a bit like Baby You're a Rich Man. It is like a puzzle you can't solve, but also you can't let go of. At one point it quite extraordinarily turns into a simple musical box type melody, and you find yourself hearing a conversation in a tailor shop in northern England. And then it comes back with a big chorus. There is a quiet song called Overs which sees Paul Simon combining folk and blues in both his sung melody and his acoustic guitar. It is all textbook Paul Simon until it is contrasted by Garfunkel's angelic appearance midway through. Punky's Dilemma is more standard Paul Simon, using another of his favourite styles, a slightly jazzy swing with clever lyrics. One of those 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover type songs. It is a bit like Daydream by the Lovin' Spoonful, though it is also a bit like 59th Street Bridge song, feeling groovy. Not one of my favourites. I must have heard Hazy Shade of Winter before I heard the Bangles cover. For an act that was marketed as folk rock, the Simon and Garfunkel version is not that dissimilar to the Bangles' jangly pop rock version. The album starts with the sweet acoustic instrumental Bookends theme, and then it hits you hard with a barrage of sound effects and the song Save the Life of My Child. Save the Life of My Child also features a big bassy Moog synthesizer sound. This would have been a year before the Beatles or ELP used it. It is deliberately chaotic. In places it is an extraordinary mix of folk and musique concrète. The only thing that really lets the album down is a track that is just old people conversing. However, it does fit in with side one's journey that goes from the child saved at the start, then the young lovers looking for America, to the old friends like Bookends, who are sadly finding that they are 70, with a bittersweet melody and George Martin-esque strings. Side one ends with the vocal version of the Bookends theme, with lyrics that tell of all that is left is memories. The album ends with At the Zoo, which is a catchy number that is not quite as childlike as it seems, but is also probably not as meaningful as it was intended to be. Bookends, Simon and Garfunkel.